Hi, this is Sarah Hall, and this is my multimedia presentation about nonverbal differences between Japan and the United States. I was not trying to address a problem in this project. I was just doing a thorough analysis of nonverbal differences between the two countries. There are major differences in the way Japanese and Americans express themselves, not just non-verbally, but verbally as well. But this project will be focusing just on nonverbal differences, the way we all carry out our emotion expressiveness, and I will be citing scholarly research about these sort of things, as well as providing personal insight into nonverbal differences from my own personal trip to Japan with my family. I will be talking a little bit about scholarly journals that are found, specifically some that talk about specific nonverbals that Japanese use, as well as showing some photos, some personal family photos of when I went to Japan, and pointing out differences that you, the viewer, can see for yourself. So I'm going to touch on a few scholarly journals that I found whose information was extremely interesting and that pertained very well to the study of nonverbal differences. In a 2007 article by Patterson, Itsuka, Tubbs, Ansel, Tsunami, and Anson, they discussed the differences that between pedestrian actions in the United States and Japan. They found that Japanese are much less responsive in all aspects of pedestrian expressive emotion than Americans. The researchers decided to initiate interaction with one of three combinations: avoid the person, avoid eye contact, touching, look only, or nod and smile. And they found at the end of the research, after conducting these experiments, that 1 to 2% of Japanese performed these actions, any of those three. 9 to 25% of Americans did the same actions. So that shows you that the Japanese are more reserved, especially when they're out in public. In a study by Katao and Katao on kinesic differences between the two cultures, Japan and the United States, they found that there are three important factors that people visiting need to know about Japan and why they express themselves the way they do. One is a historical factor. During the Tokugawa period in Japan's history, the monarchs decided that any showing of emotion made you weak. So the Japanese took it upon themselves to erase all facial expressions, especially that show grief or extreme joy. Henceforth, poker face. The second factor that people need to take into consideration is the homogeneity of the Japanese society. They are, by and large, historically, and still are today, a very homogeneous society. That is, there are very few outsiders that come inside the culture as far as marriage, reproduction, things like that. So because of their homogeneity, they are interconnected in many ways, especially in the way they think, the way they speak. There's really only one language. So that there's much less of a need for verbal interaction, so they can speak to each other with just, a nod or a look. They understand that. It's been just those people for so many years. The last important factor is the historical adherence to Zen Buddhism. While many Japanese do not practice Buddhism, it is the official religion of the country, but many people do not practice it. Its effects are still felt. The purpose, the main aspect of Zen Buddhism is simple: peace. And the Japanese believe that some things are better left unsaid. So they go on to say that the Japanese have a distrust of vocalization in some cases, especially in fighting or certain arguments. They just would much rather leave things alone, let there be peace. So I found that to be very interesting, learning about why they do the things that they do. My favorite article was one by Scagliotti and Mushtaba, which touched on the importance of Japanese business etiquette for expatriates going to do business in Japan. Some of the very interesting things that they pointed out were things about nonverbal etiquette. For example, clothing. Male and females must dress conservatively in dark colors. It's frowned upon to wear lots of perfume and jewelry, which I found to be very interesting. And that they also remind the reader to take off their shoes when entering someone's home, or if asked, when entering someone's office. They also mention that women, it is okay to wear high heels, but that they must be sure that the heels they wear do not make them taller than their female counterparts in Japan. They also remind American expats to remember to bow when greeting, leaving, giving thanks. And also they touch on the importance of giving and receiving business cards. Japanese businessmen and women are very proud of their work, and they are gracious to receive and give their cards as a showing of respect for people in their fellow business. Some other things that the authors touched on were more general nonverbal things, such as no touching unless it's offered a hug, which is rare. Most often it's going to be bowing with maybe a combination of a handshake, especially in the business world. They also stress punctuality to meetings. Being late is very, very, very rude. And they also touch on the fact that a lot of business meetings take place in restaurants, during breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that one should never decline an invitation. It is seen as rude. Also, they tend to drink during their meetings, and it's also seen as rude if you do not join in the drinking. So those are some things to think about. They also touch on the importance of learning to use chopsticks. If you go there and you're fumbling around with chopsticks, they see you as, an incompetent expatriate. So these were some things that I thought were interesting and, just really cool to learn about.
This is a personal photo of mine of one of the Japanese train attendants on the Shinkansen, the fast bullet train. They had train attendants, much like flight attendants on airplanes, that came around and sold drinks and food, certain snacks. As you can see, she is bowing. She bowed when she entered the train and when she left.
This is a shot that my dad took in an underground mall underneath one of the Shinkansen railroad stations. I'm not sure which station it was. They all look the same to me. But as you can see, the people in the photo are all looking at their phones. They're walking quickly. There are a few schoolgirls in the middle of the photo that are talking amongst themselves, but for the most part, everybody just walks and minds their business and needs to get where they're going. In this photo, I am standing with some Japanese schoolgirls, probably of about high school age. They are dressed in traditional geisha garb, and they were at Nagoya Castle performing with what I'm assuming is an after-school group performing an original dance. As you can see, they are clasping their hands. Their smiles seem kind of forced, and they were not standing very close to each other or to me.